Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southbound Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Leahy. Going to go ahead and talk some NFL today. But first, I'm on my way to actually meet up with Matt and Jeff. And we're going to go ahead and get some new things we're going to throw out on the podcast. Probably sometime over the next month. Meeting up to talk about some ideas and stuff. But today, the big news came out of the NFL yesterday. I actually saw the memo when it went live, and I thought it was a spoof because being a web programmer myself, the URL didn't match like the typical NFL letterhead. They were using some other hosting service. I don't know if it was like part of some email or what, but they sent out this memo. And basically it said that they are open, once again, to player celebrations. And to me, it's something that never should have went away in the first place. Because football is supposed to be a fun sport. It's supposed to be physical, and you're supposed to be able to taunt others and get in their face. That's just the way it is. I mean, there's no other two ways around it. That's it. That's football. And if you don't like it, then don't watch. And a lot of people do like it, and they do watch. Well, the NFL, when they started to dip in ratings, they talked a lot about like their political stance. Then there were some things about maybe with the Colin Kaepernick kneeling down during the national anthem. They might have lost some people. They said the presidential election. So there were a lot of different things floating around on why these ratings went down. And I'm glad to see that they're actually making some improvements and bringing some things back. Because it makes sense to have celebrations in the sport. It's not a one-time sport where you're just chilling and hanging out and you want to watch a bunch of people act professional. Like if you're chilling and you're just hanging out with some friends, you want to see some excitement. It's entertainment. Sports are entertainment. They try to make it as much of a business as possible, but you don't want that professional atmosphere. If you're going out to have a few drinks at the bar, you don't want to sit there and watch a bunch of people hang around in suits on the sideline, pretending that they're basically not allowed to do anything, that it's just like some type of formal atmosphere. That's not what you want. And so I'm glad that they made these changes, and I think that they have been a long time coming. And with that, I saw some things about Terrell Owens. He should most definitely be in the Hall of Fame because that's a no-brainer. He was one of the top receivers of my generation, and he still has a lot of the records, or he's in the top 10 in a lot of the receiving category record books. And that's just because of how dominant he was and how versatile. He was close. He went to that Super Bowl. He played on a broken ankle. Had a great game, basically was the only option for the Eagles that game on offense, and the rest of the team choked around him. I felt bad for him. He came so close. He didn't disappear in the big game. He showed up, but no one else did, and he wasn't able to get that ring. But when you're a wide receiver, rings don't really matter as much as they do if you're a quarterback because you don't touch the ball every play. A quarterback touches the ball every play unless their offense is some gimmicky wildcat offense or something. But a quarterback touches the ball every play. That's why championships and wins should matter for them. Some of the other positions, it's a little harder to say that matters because if they're putting up the numbers when they touch the ball, that's basically all they can do. They can only do their job. Now, with the NFL making these improvements, I've been watching some of the other sports leagues playoffs, the NHL and the NBA. I really think the NBA could take a cue from the NFL here. The NBA product, I used to look forward to watching the basketball playoffs every year, and lately it's been less and less that I've wanted to watch. The games aren't interesting. You can think back to maybe, I don't know, when the Celtics had the big three. Yeah, I always pulled for the Celtics, so had them having a good team had me want to watch. But then this year they're in the Eastern Finals again, and I thought, wow, that would pull me back in. Celtics have a good team. They've been down for a few years. That might have been the reason. Well, now as I've been watching the playoffs this year, I realized that no, that's not the reason. The game just isn't as good anymore. They've made so many rules ticky-tacky and basically have put it into a position of where anybody that's watching, it's more of like a game of finesse. It's boring. There's no physicality. So anyone that's watching, you're just going to sit there and watch. It's kind of like watching synchronized swimming, I think. And I understand how they played the rules to make it so that you're relying on your skill, but just standing there and hitting shots that don't rely on a lot of defense or ball movement. And yeah, these are great athletes, but on the other hand, they're just basketball players. So they practice their shot all day. They should be able to make it. That is basically their job. Every day they are shooting. I'm surprised more often than not when they miss. And some of them are bad shots and stuff, yeah. But with teams just shooting the ball, that's not interesting to me. I don't care if the guy can shoot it from 30 feet away. That's not something that I just want to watch someone do over and over again. A three-point shooting contest doesn't even interest me. And not so more of the dunking either. I think it's more of the physicality. They used to scrap for the ball down low. There used to be a lot of physical play. Now, if a guy gets touched, they blow a whistle. And it's not even clear what the fouls are. Sometimes they blow whistles just randomly. Sometimes they call it on the same thing. I mean, it's tough to tell. Superstars or whatever they call get better calls. And to me, that's a joke. Because if you call them superstars, you know what other league calls them superstars? The World Wrestling Entertainment or Federation, whatever it is these days, WWE. Their wrestlers are called superstars. You know what they do? They fake wrestle. It's fake. So by calling your stars superstars, now I have that ingrained in the back of my head that half these games could be faked. And in basketball, I think it would be pretty easy. Guys shoot up a bunch of shots. All you have to do is call some fouls. You have a foul-heavy night. Get someone in foul trouble so they don't play as much. Or like LeBron. He comes out. The game that the Celtics won, it was basically because LeBron had a poor game. The Celtics can't compete with the Cavs. So whenever you're watching and LeBron has a bad night, that makes me think, did he have a bad night? Or was he just not trying that night? Because someone can just go out there to the rec league and airball a bunch of shots or put up bricks. And whenever you're looking at it from a perspective of the fan, it's very suspicious whenever the top basketball player of our generation is out there having awful games. And yeah, he chokes at the free throw line, so that's another way to swing it too. You just foul him and you're not surprised that he can't make free throws because he can't make free throws anyway. So then you're watching the game and all of a sudden you're adding these things up in your head a little bit at a time, and then finally it clicks and you're like, well, maybe this is fixed. And I'm not saying that it is. I don't think it is, actually. I think that they're making it to the point that it seems like it is, and then it's not fun. Like they're trying to make their core demographic young males, adolescent, teens, boys, whatever, the same as what WWE is. If you go to a wrestling match, who is there? It's all young teenage boys. If you go to a basketball game, who is there? Like an NBA game. I've been to a couple, and it's mostly, well, like to me, it reminded me of minor league baseball, the atmosphere they have there. And the last time I went to see an NHL game, it was no better. But for the playoffs, the NHL brings a whole different atmosphere. Everything's so intense, and they actually let the players play. The NBA used to do that. They used to let people play. It used to be physical, and I can give you an example. So if you watch the Michigan Fab 5 30 for 30, if you go in and watch that 30 for 30, you can see real physical play. That was the first time that it really stood out to me because I think, I haven't watched it for a while, but I think that they do have some of the clips of the guys when they went to the NBA. And whenever you're watching these highlights, you're like, holy cow, I can't believe that this is what the NBA used to be like. Or another good one is Bad Boys, the Detroit Pistons one. And yeah, people would say, well, Detroit, they were rough and they weren't what the league wants to be. But basically, the league wants to be entertaining. I mean, when you're calling your athletes superstars, then yeah, you're basically just an entertainment league. You're not really going in for the sports anymore. Because the superstars that you play out there, whenever you have two teams, only two teams, anyone, like I went to look at the lines before the NBA playoffs went, because I thought, I could put a wager down on the Cavs and Golden State to make the finals again. And I figured that would be like some parlay that would give me a plus. Nope. Vegas knew, and it was like minus 200 or minus 400. It was something crazy. And if you're not a gambler, if you don't know what that means, if you throw down $100 and it's even, you'll get $100 back. If it's in the plus side, that's what you're looking for. So normally when you have two teams like that, because LeBron could have got hurt, Curry or Durant, or I guess both of them would have had to get hurt because they were just sweeping everybody. But if someone gets hurt, then you're kind of screwed. That's why it's safer to only bet on one team. It's only one game or whatever. But if you add more and more teams, you get better odds. So basically, like if you're looking for a 2-for-1, it would need to be like plus 200, and then you get $200 for your $100. So for this game to be in the negative, that means you'd make less than what you put in. So I think it was like $800 or $80 you'd make on the 100 or whatever whenever I looked at it. And to me, that wasn't it wasn't like you could easily make some bank, because Vegas already knew who the two teams were that are going to go ahead and get in. And I think everyone did. And so now you're just watching it and you're waiting to see it play out. And you think to yourself, what's going to happen? Well, I mean, when you get to the finals, it's going to be interesting. And then are you going to keep getting the same style of play? Like last night, whenever I record this, I'm recording this morning that this is going to launch, basically Wednesday. So yesterday night's Celtics game, it was brutally unwatchable. Not in terms of the Celtics. Celtics had a pretty good lead because they were shooting hot. So, but the whole time I just waited for them to fall apart because they eventually had to quit and making shots. You can't shoot on fire for a whole game. I know that's never going to happen. So whenever I'm watching a game and they're just shooting up jumpers, and then the Cavs are making steals and having some breakaway layups and stuff and jams, and then I'm sitting there watching, all of a sudden the shots aren't falling. The Cavs are still doing their thing, just pounding the ball inside, letting LeBron do his thing. Next thing you know, it's a 20-point swing. Cavs are up by 10. Took over the game. Celtics hit a couple threes to try to cut into the lead, but it was never close after that. It remained and that was, I think, in the third quarter that happened. There was like a 10-point lead the whole time. So whenever you're just sitting there watching guys shoot up balls, that's what it reminds me of. Is rec league. You have a team that comes out there, they start hitting, but they're just shooting. You're just shooting. You're standing around shooting. Guys are taking guys one-on-one, and that's it. And to me, that's not interesting. And I think that's why their ratings are down. Their ratings are down, so it's not just me who's saying, well, I'm not going to tune in for this. I think they even called out, and one of the guys like Durant, I think it was Durant, I hope I give the quote right, but he said something like, well, if you don't like it, then don't watch. Well, to me, that's not the correct answer. Your fans are paying your salary. They don't want to watch you just stand around and shooting the ball, because anyone could do that. Actually, I guess it works from a kid's perspective, because as a kid, you're thinking, well, I might not be the tallest, I might not be the fastest, but shit, I could practice all day and learn how to shoot, because that's basically what Steph Curry is telling these kids. Hey, as long as you shoot, you could make the league. It doesn't matter how good you are in high school. So I just imagine that watching elementary basketball or middle school basketball has to be even more painful than what it normally is, because people are probably just jacking up shots all day. And then they're surprised that their team sucks. But the NHL, their product is actually crushing it in the playoffs What sucks for them is their TV contract with NBC. NBC waits till like the last minute to put the game on. They don't have like certain highlights and stuff showing. It's hard to find the game. They should just put them on NBC. I know, as a side, TNT has been showing these basketball games, so they're both on cable, so the head-to-head ratings are pretty close. Because I would imagine most people have TNT, have NBC Sports Network now. I could be wrong. But for them to just have a couple properties, TNT is by far a more well-known channel just because of the name. And I don't know how their ratings are doing. I thought I saw that they were down 2 this year in the playoffs. And that's where some of the people were saying that like people aren't tuning in. It's boring. Everyone knows who's going to win. There's no need to watch. I think Charles Barkley himself said that he was watching NHL playoffs on the back. He wasn't even watching them on like the game when he's supposed to be covering it because it's boring to him. Because that's basically what the league has turned into. There's no physical play. They don't let the guys play, so there's whistles all game. Whenever you have like a 6'8" guy like LeBron, he's like 200-something pounds, barreling down the lane, and a small guy reaches and tries to tap the ball away, and they blow a whistle at the foul line, that to me, that's not basketball. Then we have to watch LeBron miss 2 free throws. That's boring. Just because the guys, like basketball lucks out because unlike football or even baseball with the hats, their faces aren't covered. So you basically have marketing ability for these athletes. And that's where it's basically turning into the WWE, it seems like, with superstars. The same people that are into their gossip lives on TMZ or whatever are the same ones that are into wrestling. And I see a parallel with sports sites too, because a lot of them are starting to cater to that audience. Sports sites are covering basketball and wrestling because they want that younger demographic, hoping that in 10 years, these kids don't grow up and change. And they're like, well, I can't believe I used to watch that. Because I know a lot of people that do that with wrestling. They used to watch wrestling. They don't watch it anymore because they were like, I can't believe I used to watch that. It's so obvious now that I'm smarter and educated that this is fake. And is basketball going to go that route too? Whenever you're marketing for the same audience, kind of looks like that. At least the NFL is starting to get it. They're allowing more celebrations. Get it back into, try to get some of that demographic, but don't cater to them. Don't change the game to make it so that these kids want to, I don't know, watch more. Like, are they going to actually play sports more? Is it just because they can go ahead online and talk about it with their buddies? They're going to Snapchat or watch like little bits of the game. I mean, they're not the ones that are paying the cable bills. The ratings are dropping, so it's not like they're getting a huge boom from the shifts in the officiating and the gameplay. But I don't know. That's just my thoughts on the NFL. I know I got into the little NBA there, but they're kind of hand in hand. The NFL is trying to listen to the fans, what they want to see, and putting it back in. NBA just seems to be doing their own thing and catering only to one small subset of their audience. And people who watch basketball, people who pay to the tickets, I mean, they have to be tuning out because I know I am. And that's a year where Celtics made the conference finals. So normally I would have been really excited. But this year it was kind of like, well, even with the series with Washington, you kind of had a feeling, well, the Celtics are going to win. They're number 1 seed. There's no reason to even get nervous about the game. It's not like before when it was a few years ago whenever they were matching up with the Cavs. Or I think the Hawks, they went 7 that one year. The Bulls, when they had Rose. Like, there were some great series. This year, it just seems like there are none. None. Not even the Cavs. And maybe the Cavs Warriors in the finals will be great. But you don't know that either. I mean, the Warriors might just steamroll them. And then what will the league have? They'll be back to the gossip train. Who's signing with who? Who's going out with whose girlfriend? Whatever they kind of seem to do now. But that's it. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week. Like I said, going to meet Jeff and Matt right now. So hopefully we'll get some new content stuff rolled out. Look for our new shows in the fall. I know Jeff's doing one, Spaces or Laces, talking football. And so that's something to look forward to as we get some more of these rolled out. Not sure if I'm just going to expand this show or get it catered. Still waiting to hear back on a few more other sponsors. And then that's it. But subscribe, tell your friends, follow us on Twitter, reach out to us, let me know, and I'll see you next week.